Hello everybody, Shinjo here, welcome back to the channel, and I am back with a starter tier list. So, I did do a starter tier list before, but if I remember correctly, and I can double back on that video so I'm 100% sure, but I know for a fact that they didn't have the Paldea starters. The most recent ones were the Galar starters, but this one that I found also includes a couple of outliers like the Megas and the G-Maxes and even Pikachu and Eevee. And it's been a couple of years since that last one, so I thought to do this and see if my taste in these starters have actually changed or helped in any way. But I know that I got a lot of starters to go through, so I'm just gonna begin. And Bulbasaur, I think what I'm gonna do, Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle are all going to be A tier for sure. They're just really good starters in my opinion. Of course, that may be nostalgia talking, but regardless. Ivysaur's grown on me. I think Ivysaur, Venusaur are going to go B tier, but it may be a very low B by the end of it. Mega Venusaur, well, you know what? I'll put both of those in B tier as well. They're both cool, but they're not my favorite rendition of Venusaur. Now, I still stand by that Charmeleon is a good middle stage. I think he's very polarizing, but I do like him more than Charmander. Charizard, I mean, he's an A tier. I don't want to be that guy to say that Charizard's overrated. In a way, he kind of is and kind of isn't. But with Charmander and going into Charizard, it's the, for lack of a better term, the normie pick. And while Charizard is that, it's a fire-breathing dragon. But I will say, the Mega, I think I'm going to have to put the Mega above. Again, I don't want to be obvious like that, but come on now. It's Mega Charizard. Whether there are those hipsters out there that want to say that it's overrated or it's getting too much screen time or whatever, you can't deny that Charizard's a top pick for Pokemon for a reason. But the Mega is going to go right there. It's a little bit more over-designed compared to base Charizard, but I think the G-Max is going to go in B tier. It's definitely cool, but it's not really that different, at least compared to the Megas. For Wartortle, I think it's going to be the same boat as Ivysaur. It's not the best version of the line. It's not the best form of the line, if anything. And I think Blastoise I think is going to go right there. The cannon there is a little bit goofy, but it does kind of work. And again, I think the G-Max is going to go right there. I do think that the Gen 1 Pokemon have some form of simplism, whatever you pronounce it as, in its design. So adding stuff like a giant cannon or a bunch of mini cannons on the G-Max Blastoise does make it feel a little bit over-designed based off of the original form. Now, Pikachu and Eevee, yeah, they're... I mean, I think I have to at least put Pikachu in A tier because he's the mascot. I do still think that Raichu is a better design, in my opinion, but Raichu isn't the mascot. Eevee, I do think I like Eevee more than Pikachu, because when I first saw the Let's Go games, Eevee was my first choice, and then I proceeded to buy Let's Go Pikachu anyway. So that takes care of Gen 1, and now on to Gen 2. And I think it's going to be... I think Chikorita is just a little bit less than Bulbasaur. I think actually it's going to be like this as far as the base forms go. I do like Chikorita. I do think Chikorita gets unnecessary hate just for the game that it's in. But I do really like Chikorita. And honestly, for that matter, Bayleaf is going to go above Bulbasaur. But I do think that as far as Chikorita and Cyndaquil are concerned, I do like the Kanto starters more. But as far as Totodile versus Squirtle, I do like Totodile a lot more. Now, unfortunately, Meganium got the short end of the stick with a lot of things. I do think that Chikorita and Bailey follow a nice trend of evolution, but when it comes to Meganium, it does kind of fall flat. So unfortunately, I think Meganium is going to go in B tier. It just looks a little bit different compared to the other two, and realistically, when people talk about the Chikorita line, it's almost always aimed at Meganium anyway. Quilava, there's some days I really like its design, that there are some days that it's off-putting to me, so I think putting it there is fine. But as far as Typhlosion, he definitely goes above Cyndaquil. I really like this guy. The Hisuian form, I think it's just going to go right there. I do like it, so I could put it either way. It's on par with regular Typhlosion in my opinion, but it is really cool. Croconaw, just like Ivysaur and Wartortle, have the mid-stage starter syndrome where it just looks a bit odd. And for Feraligatr, he's gonna go right next to Totodile. I do like Totodile because, again, he's not super overly designed, but at the same time, he does look really cool, and that is what I'm going with. So next on to Hoenn. Trico is really cool. I'm just not sure where exactly to place him. I think he's not on par with Totodile, unfortunately. I think he's gonna go, I think, right there. Again, he's got a simple design and it really works. Now as for Grovyle, I think he goes right there. But at this point, I think that anything that I place in A tier could realistically go into S tier. And I haven't finalized where I'm putting everything either. Sceptile, unfortunately, Sceptile is like a Meganium situation, but not as drastic. Where Trico and Grovyle just work really well together. Sceptile, just something about it seems a bit off. It may be the big bushy tail, it may be nothing, but I do think that it's gonna go like right there. And as for the Mega, honestly, most of the Megas are either a hit or a miss, and I'm not sure which one Sceptile is. Because when I see Mega Sceptile, all I can think about is Christmas Tree. Torchic and its line is... Torchic is really cute. I think I'm gonna put Torchic right there. Combuskin, he can join these ones down here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Blaziken, I do think Blaziken and Mega Blaziken do deserve to be in A tier, but it's like Sceptile where something about it just seems a bit off, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. And then Mudkip, you know my boy Mudkip is going to go here. I think that's a good spot. And then Marstomp can join Combuskin down here with the odd middle stage starters. Swampert, Swampert's gonna go right here. And then Mega Swampert, unfortunately, is gonna go here. I do like how Mega Swampert gets a buff like all Megas do, but unfortunately it does look a little bit goofy, and that's what I noticed with a lot of Megas, is that they're either really cool like Mega Charizard X, or they're really goofy like Mega Sceptile with his Christmas tree tail, or Mega Swampert with his big meaty arms. But chugging right along, we got the Sinnoh starters. And since I've been going through the base stages first and then moving around from there, I think Turtwig can join these two up here. Well, yeah, I think Turtwig can join those two up there. I really like Turtwig. He's really cute. But unfortunately, Chimchar is just better in any way for me personally. And actually, I think, well, maybe Piplup is going to go, I think he's going to go right here. I think that's fine. And unfortunately, I think Grottle is going to go right here. Primplup's going to go right here. Actually, put them both over here to kind of balance things out. Actually, at the rate I'm going, I'm not sure if I'll even need the F tier. It doesn't really seem like I will, so I'll get rid of it. Yeah, that looks a lot better. But yeah, unfortunately, Grottle and Primplup just come off as kind of awkward middle stages like everything else in B tier before then, except for Meganium. But Torterra, I think Torterra's going to go right there. Torterra is really cool. Monferno is going to go... Well, he's not as good as Chimchar in my opinion. I think Monferno... I like him more than... Actually, I think that works. Yeah, I think the only issue that I have with Monferno is that his face mask thing looks kind of odd, but it's a nice little transition into Infernape. Which, speaking of, I know I haven't done it yet, but Infernape is just going to have to go into S tier. A lot of them I'm waiting to decide on where everything is placed at later, but I just can't not put Infernape in S tier. He's my mascot. I really like Ash and Paul's dynamic in Sinnoh, with Infernape being at the center of it. Just really cool. And Empoleon is going to go... He's gonna go... I think... Actually, he is going to go... I think right there. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm trying to justify everything in A tier before it, and I can't really find a reason to like him more than Piplup or Sceptile or anything like that. Now, unfortunately, the Unova starters are kind of off. I think, to give them the benefit of the doubt, I think I'll at least put the base stages in high B tier. I wouldn't say that they're bad, but it's a similar situation to Kanto or Johto or even Sinnoh to some extent, where all three of the starters are on a level playing field and I like all of them. It's just unfortunately that the Unova starters are a tier below in my opinion. It gets to the point where when I play through these games, I don't really want to pick one of these starters, at least at their base stage. And I think that kind of goes over into Servine, because Servine's another awkward... Actually, Servine and Pignite are both awkward mid-stages. Although I do think Pignite looks a little bit cooler in my opinion. I know a lot of people clown on him, but at least he's got arms, unlike Servine's little spindly whatever you call them. But as for Dewott, since I didn't cover him yet, I think Dewott is going to go... I'm looking at the list, and I think he's going to go right here. Well, then again, there's a lot of good ones up here, but I do think that Dewott is one of the better mid-stages. And that's coming a lot of praise into it, especially considering a lot of mid-stages are very awkward, as you can see from starting Ivysaur all the way down to Servine. And Superior, I think he's just like marginally better than Snivy. He's got the same look, same sort of design, but it's hard because everything up to that point as a starter had arms. Well, I guess Venusaur, yeah, he technically had arms, but like Superior has nothing. Although I think his arms are like tucked behind his back, but like in every anime representation, he doesn't use those arms if they are arms. So it's just hard to get attached to a Pokemon like that when they don't even have arms, in my opinion at least. Emboar is not as bad as what people say he is. I think... I'll leave him here for now. He is not bad. I don't understand the hate. I mean, besides the fact that it's another firefighting starter. But Embor is not bad. I like his inspiration. It's the same inspiration from Infernape, so that is cool enough as it is. But he is not as bad as what people claim. And I think he's right up there with Meganium. Not in mediocrity, but more just like how he looks. And the fact that Embor gets Scald of all things is odd. But I think since I finished through Gen 4, I'm going to take a pause and see if there's anything I can move around in this tier list. And I think Chimchar is going to go up there. I do think Totodile deserves to be a bit further up. I guess it was only because Squirtle was right there as well. I think Totodile's going to go right here. And I think Feraligatr is going to join him. D-Watt's fine, I think. Monferno's fine. At the same time, I don't think should be super picky on where I put things in between the tier list. I think that actually looks good. Oh, I didn't finish Gen 5. Hold on. Samurott. Yeah, Samurott. He's definitely not as good as D-Watt. I guess the hard thing is, for something like Samurott, he's menacing, but it starts off as Oshawott that is just cute. So I think he's gonna go there, and I think the Hisuian version is gonna go right above him. If only for the design. Because I think the stats are like the same or very similar with the Hisuian form. But yeah, it's fine. Then for Gen 6, we're starting with Chespin. And other grass starters have been a mixed bag, honestly. I think Chespin is going to go right in here. Again, I need to clear out some problems that well, I guess not problems. That's not the right word for it. But I need to clear the deck on this whole Chespin is bad propaganda. Because just like Tepig into Embor, it is total bull hockey. They are really cool. And, well, Quilladin's just going to casually go right in here. But Chestnut is really cool. I think Chestnut is like right up there with one of my favorite grass starters. But then for Fennekin and all of them, Fennekin is going to go... I do think at base stage, all three of the Kalos starters are cool. I think Fennekin is going to be right there. And Froakie... Do I like Froakie more than Piplup? I think I like Froakie just a little bit less than Piplup. And that may be nostalgia talking. But then Braixen... Braixen's another design that's kind of cool. And where did I put Fennekin? I'm sure he is right next to Tata. I think Braixen's going to go right there. But I think Delphox is going to go right there. I don't think the Delphox is as bad as what people say. Although I think people are coming around to the Kalos starters actually being cool at this point. Because, you know, it's a cycle. But I do like Braixen more than Fennekin. It's honestly another good mid-stage design. Which, again, judging from what you've seen, is really high praise from me. For Delphox, Delphox just... Something about it's odd. It may be the big baggy pants. But on to finishing the Froakie line. I may not like Froakie more than Piplup, but I think I like Frogadier. I think right there. I think he's really on par with D-Watt. Then for Greninja, do I really want to put him next to Charizard just to fuel that hatred again? I don't really wanna. I think Greninja... Actually, I think Greninja's gonna go right here. And Ash Greninja, in hindsight, Ash Greninja's gonna go right there. You know, in hindsight, I know he's a ninja, he's cool, but I don't know. I fully agree with what Ace Trainer Liam said. Don't know if he still fully endorses it because I haven't heard him talk about it in a while. But Frogadier is a really peak design, and he just kind of loses something when he gets the tongue scarf as Greninja. Just comes off as kind of awkward. But he gets the dark type, so I guess it's a nice trade-off. And then Ash Greninja, in my opinion, I don't think that we really got any closure to what exactly it is in the series. And that just really irks me the wrong way. Especially since they nerfed it so much since then that it doesn't even feel like it's the same thing. You know, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think, well, I guess I can just do that instead. I think C tier, I think C tier is fine. I don't think I would rate any starters that badly, but I do think that Quilladin probably is the least, in my opinion. And a lot of people's opinion online. But as for the Alola starters, I think it's the same thing that I've been saying before. Overall, I think they're all A tier. So I'll put them all here and then go from there. And looking at it, I think Rowlet, well, I guess Rowlet and Litten are both a little bit overrepresented in a lot of media, but to be fair, it makes sense. Incineroar is literally a world champion, but we'll get to him later. I think Rowlet's gonna go right. I think having him right next to Sceptile fits. And then Litten is going to go, I think, right there. I'm starting to realize that Sceptile may be the benchmark. And it really hates me to do this, but I do think that Popplio is... See, I really like Popplio, but I do think he does come off as a bit goofy. It's just that I tend to like water starters, and it's Popplio. But realistically, I like all three of them, so I would really be fine regardless. You know what? I'm putting Popplio right there. One placement shouldn't make that much of a difference, but we'll see. Dartrix is in the same camp as all of these. They're just awkward middle stages. But moving on to middle stages, Torracat. My guy is going to go right here, I think. Yeah, I think that works. And, Brion. It's a necessary evil to get to Primarina, but it's just very awkward. I'm starting to realize it may be the eyes, because the eyes are similar with Quilladin and Brion. But Decidueye is cooler than Rowlet, and it is cooler than Popplio, and honestly, even Sceptile. The Hisuian one, I think it's like on par again. I think that it's rough that it gets a 4 times weakness to flying in its Hisui form, but at the same time, Breloom is really cool, and he's got a 4 times weakness. Then Incineroar is just gonna go as another Pokemon that rampaged the meta like Blaziken did. I think having Incineroar right there fits. I'm just tired of seeing Incineroar in every single competitive battle that I'm seeing, because all he does is intimidate, parting shot, and you can pretty much tell that I'm not a huge fan of the meta. Primarina is a really cool one, but I don't think I guess it's kind of both. I still don't think it matches Decidueye, but I think it is a bit better than Sceptile in my opinion. And then we're rounding off with the last 2 gens. With Grookey can start off, I think, right here. Scorbunny can start... You know what? I think it fits to have him right next to Chespin because they have almost the exact same expression. And then Sobble... I think Sobble can go right there. In all honesty, I do think I'm giving Grookey a little bit of flack, but I really like Grookey, and I should like Grookey more because he's a monkey, and I really like Chimchar. But the fact that he was just so annoying in the anime is all I associate Grookey with. And as for Scorbunny, I do think he's a really cool design. And Sobble, he's along the same lines as Froakie, where he's just a water starter and he's just really cool to me. Thwacky can just go down here with the rest of them. Actually, can you see that bottom tier? Yes, you can. Okay, no problem. And Raboot can go right up here next to Torracat. Another fire mid-stage evolution that is really cool. And it's back-to-back gens as well. And unfortunately, they missed a game with Drizzile, but hey, I gotta applaud them for trying, right? Rillaboom is, in my opinion, not as cool, I guess. I think I like him a little bit more than Grookey. Although, again, like Incineroar, he sets up grassy terrain, grassy glides, and just does all these shenanigans. It is just kind of odd in some cases, but at least he wasn't super annoying like Grookey was. And Rillaboom, his G-Max. While I do think it's neat, especially when he gets a drum kit, the G-Maxes themselves are just kind of awkward, I guess. So I do think he's cooler than Rillaboom because it really brings to the forefront what his gimmick is. It is a little bit weird. And for Cinderace, he can go top of B tier. I think that's fair. And honestly, in that point, yeah, I can put the G-Max there. Honestly, the G-Max, I don't really care. It's just that Cinderace, like all the other fire-type starters, people don't want him to stand up, and he stands up. And I do think Scorbunny is really cute, but Cinderace just comes off as a mascot. Teleon, I think it's a similar situation, so I think he's going to go there, although I think I'll put the G-Max above it, because I like how he's a sharpshooter. But I think the only thing that will make me like Inteleon more is if he wasn't so scangly. But now we're wrapping up with the Paldea starters. And just like before, I think all three of them, the base stages, are going to go in A tier. The anime is really helping me enjoy these characters and like them a little bit more. I do think that Sprigatito is probably still my least favorite from the three. Fuecoco is gonna go... I'll put him next to Chessman, Scorbunny, and Fuecoco. I don't think it's like anything really correlated between these two besides the fact that they look like they have a dumb expression, and that's what makes me like them. But I do think in a wild turnaround that Quaxly actually is my favorite of the Paldea base stages at this point. I definitely liked Fuecoco the most going into things, but after seeing him in the anime, I'm just not really vibing with him that much. Like, he's cool and all, but his whole gimmick is he likes to eat a lot and he's kind of dim-witted. And Quaxly at least has some personality. Now granted, mid-stage may have actually hindered that, but we'll get to that later. But first, Floragato. Floragato's going to go right up here with these two. I do think that... Yeah, I do think that he's... Move you down here. Okay, now it makes sense. I do think that Floragato is my favorite mid-stage grass starter. It's really cool, and... unfortunately, I don't think that Meowscarada is as cool. I mean, it's broken for sure, but I think it's gonna go right about here. Yeah, I think that's fine. Crocalor, to be honest, I was so ready to put Crocalor at the bottom tier, but just the simple fact that its lure is that the little egg on his head is the bird that hatches into its final stage is really cool. But still, he's going to go bottom B tier. And then for Quaxwell, I think its name is, it's just going to go there. the design grows on me a little bit after seeing it in the anime, but it just still comes off as awkward. And as for Skeledirge, I think he's my favorite final evolution Firestarter since Infernape. So I think he's gonna go, I think right about here next to Torracat. I think that's a really fair placement. He's really cool, and he's not overly broken like Meowscarada, where it has like what, a 60, 70, maybe even 80 base power move that always crits. And then Quaquaval, who gets Moxie and Aqua Step, so he basically gets a free Dragon Dance when he attacks and knocks something out, if I have that right. But the design is a little bit much. So I think it's gonna go below Greninja, and I think below Empoleon as well. There's definitely a discussion to be made about it, but I do think that starter evolutions are getting to be more and more humanoid as the generations go on, and that's probably why a lot of my higher picks are older gen Pokemon. Although in saying that, you could argue that Infernape is humanoid besides the tail. But speaking of, I think Totodile's going up there. And you know what? Let's give some love to my man Bulbasaur. He can go up in S tier as well. Actually, that really works out well because that's a fire, water, and a grass starter all in S tier. Beautiful. Alright, and I could look at this list more, but it's been a long recording anyway, and I don't want to take up any more of your guys' time. But let me know what you think about my tier list. Let me know if there are any underrated starters that you think deserve a higher placement, or any starters that are a bit overrated that I should have put a little bit lower. Let me know all of those thoughts, and I'll see you next time. Momentai.